It's Rustic Barn Cards. I'm Terry Hartley, an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States. Welcome. Today, we're going to make a quick, fun, and easy barn card fold. And I have two cards to show you. The first card, I used one stamp set. But the second card, I did use more than one stamp set. But actually, whatever stamp sets you have, you can use with this barn fold card I'm going to show you. And I have a little tip how to make the card base for the barn fold card. But before we start stamping, I want to remind you that this Saturday is October 31st, is the last day that you can order the DSP that is on sale. And there's 15 different designer series paper packs that are on sale. So don't lose out. Make sure you save and stock up. If you do not have a demonstrator, it would warm my heart if you chose me as your demonstrator. And when I turn the camera down, you'll see my web page where you can go and click on shop. And there's also a host code. Make sure you use the host code if you order less than $150. That way it helps me get you a gift. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe by clicking the subscribe button down below. And those of you that are returning, thank you. I appreciate it. So let's turn the camera down and start stamping. So today we're going to make a barn fold card. Let me show you. This is a barn fold card. Happiest of holidays. I used Balmy Blue, and I used the Evergreen Forest embossing folder for the background. And it opens up this way. Enjoy the stillness of the season. And then you still have room that you can write. Your barn fold card can open this way. The one we're going to make together today is going to open the other way. So how I put the snow on the treetops is that I used crystal effects. So use shimmery crystal effects, and you do not want to shake this. And you just squeeze it. So I put it on the trees, and then I took white embossing powder and sprinkled over it, and then took the heat tool and was able to dry it quickly. And so it makes it look like there's snow on the pine trees. And then I added some little snowflakes. But the card we're going to make today is a little bit different than this, but it's similar layout. So let's go ahead and get started. I'll show you what we're going to need. So for our card base, you'll need 4 1/4 by 11 inches and scored at 5 1/2, and we'll do that in just a second. I'm using shaded spruce, so 5 1/4 by 4. Another piece of shaded spruce, 2 by 5 1/4. And then Whisper White, 2 inches by 5 1/4. And this is going to be the snow, and I'll show you how I did that. And then you're going to need a scrap for the moose, trees, and gnome, which actually I've already cut out. So lay that aside. But I want to show you how to make the barn fold. So you take a sheet of 11 by 8 1/2, and you cut it at 4 1/4 across. Let me bring in the trimmer. So if I lay this here, you'll see that it is 4 1/4. So now I'm going to score it at 5 1/2. So I'm going to turn it. And then I like to go back and forth If you can see that it's 5.5. And then I'm going to go ahead and fold this. And take my bone folder. And then I'm going to open this back up. Okay, I'm going to open it back up. And I am going to place it in the trimmer. And I'm going to put this edge at 2 inches. Then I'm going to slide the cutting blade down. And I'm going to start right here at the fold. And you have little lines here, so you line those up with the fold. And you're going to cut down. And then you want to take one of these off. You want to cut one off. So you could put it back in to cut off. But instead, I am going to take some scissors. And you're going to want to cut this piece that is the 2 inches. You're going to cut that part off. So this is the one that you want to cut that you measured at 2. So I find, that's for myself anyway, that it is easier if I just take scissors and cut right on the fold line. And then we remove the trimmer. All right, and so now we can fold it this way, or we can have it this way to open. So this time, I'm going to have it open this way. Okay, so I'm going to lay that aside, and we'll get our stamping finished. So I'll bring in that scrap. I already stamped a couple trees, and I used the Perfectly Plaid. I used the pine tree from the Perfectly Plaid. And the reason I did this is because it does have a punch that I can use to cut out the trees. Okay, and I'll lay those aside. Now we're using this Merry Moose set, so I could have used either one of these pine trees. I think for this particular card, if you have this set, you could use the small pine tree, and then you would just fussy cut and go ahead and just cut it out. I also stamped the moose, so you stamp this one first, and then you stamp this one on top. And this Merry Moose stamp set also comes with a moose punch. So I use the moose punch, and I stamped him in crumb cake. Whereas on this card, I use crumb cake for the first stamp and then early espresso. So this one is darker than the one we're going to use on our card that we're making right now. I decided I wanted to add a little gnome. I love this gnome for the holidays. So I'm using this gnome right here. So I already have it mounted on my block. And you'll want to use Memento black ink because I'm going to use blends to color it. Although you could use colored pencils if you don't have blends. And then I have already used the blends and colored and fussy cut the gnome out, so he's ready to go. So I did that ahead of time. So we will be stamping our sentiment, but before we do that, I'm going to bring in our evergreen forest embossing folder. I'm going to open that up. And this is the 5 1/4 by 4 inch, and I want the trees to be at the top, so I'm going to run that through the cut and emboss machine, which I have already done, and it looks like this. And then I also want to use the 2 by 5 1/4, and I'm going to kind of put this down just a little bit because I want the smaller trees, so you can see the smaller trees, and I'll make it that straight. And I'll run this through, which I've already done before you join me, and we have this embossed. So these are embossed. I'm going to lay them right over here. And then I'm going to show you how we're going to make the snow. So I'm bringing in, for the snow, I'm bringing in the 5 1/4 by 2 inch. And I'm going to use a set that you as a customer can purchase starting November 3rd. And this is the curvy dies, and it also goes with a curvy set. So again, beginning November 3rd, you can order the Quite Curvy stamp set and the Curvy Christmas. And it comes in a variety bundle. But today, I'm just going to use a die from the Curvy Dies. So let me show you those. And I'm going to use this die here to make the snow. So I am going to lay this. Now when I lay it here, and I cut and emboss, I will have this top portion that will be a straight edge, so I could use this part here, or the bottom. When I run it through the cut and emboss, the bottom piece will have this line in it. So let me show you how that looks. So it looks like this. And then you can just take your scissors and cut this trim off, which is what I did. And then you have the snow, or you could use the other piece. So the other piece is already. Okay, so I'm going to use this. And now let's put our card together. So I brought in the craft, little silicone craft sheet. I'm going to turn over the shaded spruce. This would help if I took the cap off. Then I'm going to open up our card, and I'm going to place this right in here. And I'm going to close this up. And then I am going to add our trees first. So I'm going to bring in our trees, and that punch makes a little tree stamp, but it's not going to show because I'm going to tuck these little trees right here. So I'm going to put this tree a little bit shorter than the other one. So I'm going to turn that over and add some glue, some adhesive, and bring it down just a little bit. And now I'm going to bring in the other shaded spruce. But before I do that, I'm going to bring in our snow because this is too long. And sometimes when I use that trimmer, I don't get it just right. So I'm going to turn that over, be sure it's lined up. Take my scissors, my snips, and then I'll just and that way it'll be even. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and add the shaded spruce. I am using the Stampin' Seal Plus. And this will cover up the base of the trees that were white. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp the sentiment on the front of the card before I add it to our card. And I'm going to use Happiest of Holidays, which is from the Merry Moose set. And I did not feel like that was on there straight, so I'm going to lay it on my grid paper. There we go. I'm going to bring in shaded spruce. The other card I used black memento, but I'm going to use, let's see, I better check because I am going to add the deer, and I'm also going to add the gnome. So I need to make sure. I'm going to put the little gnome, I think, right here. Could have probably moved that over a little bit, so I'm going to put that right in the middle there. Okay. So I'm going to kind of use that deer for, there we go. Okay. I'll turn this over and we'll add our snow. And then I'm going to turn the moose over, and we're going to add a couple of dimensionals and pop him up. And then we'll do the same with our gnome. So once you have that card base for the barn door cut, everything goes pretty quickly. I'm going to leave that shaded spruce. I'm going to move it because I am going to stamp a sentiment inside. And there we go, Happiest of Holidays. And we're going to stamp a sentiment over here. I'm going to use the shaded spruce. I probably should have stamped it before I put everything down or taped it, well, we can do that. Enjoy the stillness of the season, and then you still have quite a bit of room to write. So this is the barn door fold. Happiest of Holidays, and then our first card that we made, that I had made before you joined me, was in Balmy Blue, the Happiest of Holidays, and it opened up this way. Enjoy the stillness of the season. And then the card we made together, Happiest of Holidays. And I can go ahead and add some snowflakes. The adhesive back snowflakes, these are darling in the mini catalog. And I think I want to use a little spatula. So remember, you have 2 ends there that you can use. And we'll add 1 more. We'll put 1 down there. Okay, so there's our card. Let me know in the comments below which one that you like the best. And please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I'd appreciate that. Thank you for watching, and have a great day.